last but not least, I mean, I have so much to say about you. You're an inspiration. I mean, all these ladies are inspirations, but you are. But why don't you tell us, Baroness Eden, about your journey to where you've come and how you've come here?
Thank you, Madam Nadia. You are an incredible leader, and I just want to acknowledge the work that you're doing at a very tender age. I mean, I think I've known Nadia all her life, and it's been a beautiful journey that you have grown into the person that you are. And I think, and I think the mother, the grandmother, the grandfather, the father you have had and been blessed with is a responsible as much as you are and what you're doing and the choices you made. Thank you. Also, Dr. Halima Mohammed, Jane Collinzed, Aisha Hakim Rahman, and not least Karen Hunt. I'm in awe of all of you. And I thank you, Councillor Mayor Rizqul Rahman, and Tower Hamlet home teams and Tower Hamlet Council teams that are here today. It's very difficult to say anything about myself. I don't think I often speak about myself in public arena. So I don't know, maybe I'll say a few words, but I want to first of all say how important it is that we're here in Cheshire Street here, and I want to acknowledge Tower Hamlet, a new town hall, and really বাংলাতে বলে এটা একটা প্রেরণা না আমরা যেখানে এসেছি where we've come to আমরা যেখানে আইছি এখন মানে এটা আমরা জায়গা আমরা বানাইছি এটা so I'm just going to say that in Bangla just for a very brief seconds, because in fact this is not where my journey in this country started. It started in Newham. So the east end of London, Tower Hamlet, is in my blood, in my vein, in my breath, is as much as my children who are my lives. I have 5 children and 5 grandchildren. I'm very blessed. I walked into Tower Hamlet as a very stupid 15-year-old choosing to marry my husband, and I've regretted the decision every day since. But he's still there in the background. And the only thing I thank him for, and I mean this sincerely, are the beautiful children, because they remind me without him, they would not be in my life. Cheshire Street, why is it important? Cheshire Street is important because bricklaying is important. So when I got married, I came into Bethnal Green Road, 138. We were living above there, hoping my father wouldn't find us. A lawyer by profession, and thinking that I had married someone who was an absolute fool and incompetent to marry his daughter. So anyhow, but I discovered all the Sunday events protesting against the fascists. Now the fascists in those days were very evident. And if any one of you think that you haven't experienced racism, actually it was better in those days, because we knew who the fascists were. They were boots, they wanted to spit at you, they wanted to... My mother was chased. My mother is also a single mother. Very bravely, with his father's blessing, my mother divorced my father in 1973. Wow. So I want to tell you, I mean, he was around for a long time, and and his father, who is my mentor. So I have great heroines, women in my life. I don't like to use the Western terminology to my comfort to address the fact that I have, and we have, I'm sure, all experienced incredible strength from our women in our families, as much as some of the men, right? So I think it's really important to acknowledge that. So while the women who inspired me to know that I didn't stand up when you said, have you ever questioned your abilities? I have never in my entire existence ever questioned my ability. I always knew. But that doesn't mean anything, because as soon as you say or think that, there'll be a million people who try to squash that. That's a different question, right? So, but my grandfather, my dada, was really my role model. He educated all his daughters. He was not educated, he was a businessman. But he educated everyone in his family, including his daughters. And they were exceptional women in my family. So I could never imagine when I came here. I want to go back to Brick Lane for 1 second. But when I came here, the first thing people say, well, my teacher said definitely at the age of 13 in a very posh grammar school at that time, that I was just going to be good for breeding. They were allowed to say those words, breeding children, and I'm sure you will only have you will end up having 5 children and be a machinist and not really achieve anything. And you know, you're an Asian woman. In those days, our faith was not evident in any discussion. So it was definitely an Asian woman. We're not meant to do anything. There were only 5 women, Asian women in my class. And when I went to say to her that I want to study medicine, that was her response. So I think never being defeated, I think, is the word. And I think the common thread that we all have, that we all share, is the kind of threads that began the journey for many, particularly at that time, Bangladeshi younger generation of my generation, which said that we will not be defeated, we will not be driven out of the area. This was our home, and I was very committed from the day I walked in here to be driven only to my grave, and nobody else would drive me to there except Allah, right? That's full stop. It's very, very enlightening to hear that MSLS, which is what it was. I was the only Bangladeshi woman to be part of our group at that time. Dean Taylor, Shamez Dirir, I want to acknowledge Shamez Dirir, Mara Garrett and other people, but really it was driven by women, right? And I tell you, women, MSLS at that time, Women's Health at that time, nobody writes your history, okay? And don't be confined to the idea somebody is going to acknowledge your work, all right? And all your worth. You individually stand up to yourself every day and say you are worth it, right? Every way that you are worth it. Simply because you said this word, surviving. And it's really important that that resilience comes from that. So there are so many things I want to say, but I do want to say about MSLS. The reason MSLS came into place is because of all the campaigns that we used to do. I took my youngest son and my grandson, Ismail, on his 15-year-old, to meet this distinguished mayor of Tower Hamlet. And I want to tell you, what you have done and your vision is the dreams on which we stood against those fascists in Brick Lane. And I want to acknowledge you. Please give the mayor Mr. Rahman. But don't just give him a clap, give him a chance, but pressure him every day because he doesn't have women in his leadership. But really, it's also not his fault. We have to take a responsibility for standing. And women's participation will only come when we are prepared to stand. And I can tell you today where I'm standing, I have sacrificed the lives of my sons and my daughter, one daughter. I did not see them every day to take them to school because I thought, oh, somebody else might need me. But at the fundamental principle, anybody asked me today, if I had anything that I would want to say, this is what I would want to say. Change the world, yes. But you will only change the world if your own place in your own home in the position that you are is strengthened. And if you've got children, strengthen them first and then worry about your neighbors. I'm telling you, you know what they say on the airplane, right? Give yourself the oxygen first and then you're going to save anybody else. It is so true. And I didn't realize because nobody told me. Nobody said anything. At that time, I was often the only woman in any platform, and I can challenge anyone to say otherwise now, right? I was often the only woman of any kind, and then time to time we had our sisters, you know, whether they came from, we didn't care where they came from. We didn't care that, you know, they were here or there. But where this organization has stayed for 40 years is really important because we came in to prevent virginity testing of women, right? So that they could claim health service. So that health service has not fundamentally changed. So we protested at the foot of the town hall, which is now belonging to the people of town. It is a significant change, but you cannot really claim that change for your lives unless every single institution reflect yourself. So I just want to say very, very briefly, what's my experience, work experience? So I'm a jack of all trade and master of everything now. I do not know. I qualified as a social worker, didn't practice it more than 10 years. I was a councillor and deputy leader. And then I've been in Parliament for the last 25 years. And I can tell you, every day has been a survival. Every day. And the fundamental question for me is always, I've never questioned myself. I've never questioned my place. I've never questioned the fact that if I lifted a paper on behalf of someone or for someone, I would do it with enormous dignity and honor. So I honor every single person that comes to my life in my position, wherever I am. It doesn't matter if it's on the street or in Parliament. Because if any members of Parliament are telling you, and if any members of the council are telling you that they are changing things for you, or they've changed something, honestly, it's a false claim. Because in Parliament, we have 800 members in the House of Lords, we have 625 members in the House of Commons. We can only lift pens and papers for ourselves and talk, which is exactly what we do. But then fundamentally, we cannot shift anything very much. It's a local authority, local communities, local institution. This is where you have the masses of power. Make people accountable. So today, a couple of people said that you were not able to get hold of mayor's office or councillors or whatever. Don't let that defeat you. Go and stand in Tower Hamlet. Council, the front door, front reception, leave your name, send the email, whatever, make sure that they respond. In Parliament, this is a beautiful, the democratic system has lots of flaws, and ours in this country is no different. But what I want to say to you that there is this beautiful system. You can go up to Parliament Central Lobby and you can demand to see any members of Parliament. That includes members of the House of Lords. So I think your ability to change things are innately yours. I'm not saying that it's your responsibilities, but your responsibilities is a collective journey. It's a collective wisdom, and our ability to change will only come when we stand together. So I think that that's what this is about. One day debate in Parliament or anything like that to celebrate women is absolutely nothing unless women's emancipation, economic emancipation, that they're able to participate in the economy, they're able to participate in the system to change, and democratic participation and engagement. I hate the word consultation. I've always hated it, and if I'm doing something, I never use those things. I never use those terminology. I want people's participation at the same level that I am. And finally, I want to acknowledge one organization that have risen above all others, and of course, I don't exclude MSLS and Women's Health and now Sister Circle, and Japanese Center, on which I can tell you I was one of the most critical component. But and again, history doesn't talk about that, and it doesn't matter because it's written in my heart. But the organization that have stood for women right throughout the history over the last 40 years is Account 3, and I want to acknowledge the incredible work of Account 3. And I do hope that the discriminatory practice which eradicated the women's organizations, the voluntary organizations, by the past administration, I think it's really significant. So rebuilding that is going to take time. But please be with Account 3 and all other organizations, including all of these amazing, incredible women. Be with their journey as though the journey is yours and the change will come. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your kind words. And again, such inspirational women. Can we give them a huge round of applause? I'm going to really make you work for your lunch. Thank you. I know we started a bit late.